Says so in the surveillance video, she appears to have more to her light than the state claims was broken off, meaning the state broke off to her light and planted broken pieces allegedly. Huh, okay. All right, let's see a full breakdown.
This story starts with a typical night out. Karen Reed and her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, meet up with friends for a few drinks in a Boston area pub. They're caught on the bar CCTV, they're laughing, they're hugging, they're happy, but the night ends with John dead in a snowbank. The police say it's simple. Karen Reed got drunk and ran over her boyfriend. But not so fast. The defense has another theory. Karen is alleging a widespread cover-up. It all comes down to a taillight. Now, this case is wild, with a capital I-led. Stick around as we take you through the twists and turns. Let's recap. Conspiracy theories get a bad rap. I mean, sometimes, yeah, they're completely outlandish, like the lizard people. Other times they hold water. Jeffrey Epstein? Come on. He didn't
Whoa. I didn't know she was going to wild out like that. I didn't know she's going to go full throttle. Holy smokes. This video is for educational purposes. That's what we are watching for. This is for educational purposes.
Hang himself. At their core, though, conspiracy theories lean on the fact that more than one person is lying, and they'll do anything to protect that lie. Well, in Canton, Massachusetts, a small town south of Boston, a local conspiracy theory has ripped the community in half, and it all hinges on a police officer found dead in a January blizzard. So did his girlfriend kill him, or was she framed for a murder perpetrated by his fellow boys in blue? It's January 28, 2022. The weatherman predicts a historic snowstorm is about to move through New England. For John O'Keefe and Karen Reed, it's the perfect date night. This hard New England-bred couple knows how to survive the snow, even after a few cocktails. Well, Karen is a 42-year-old equity analyst and a part-time professor at Bentley University. She owns a home in Mansfield, Massachusetts, but she spends most of her time with John in Canton.
Educated.
They've known each other for years, but they've been dating.
Damn, a lot of people saying that it might have been a setup in the chat. Damn. Okay.
For about 2. John is a 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department. He's a 46-year-old burly, brown-haired cop who's beloved in his local community. He's an all-around good guy, too. About 7 years back, his niece and nephew lost their parents. Their mother, John's sister, died of a brain tumor. Their father died of a heart attack 2 months later, and John basically adopted the kids. They call him Uncle JJ. But it's Friday night, the kids are in bed, and Karen and John head off to their favorite haunts to drink with friends. The night should have ended at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, but at the bar they run into a friend of John's, Jennifer McCabe. With her is another Boston cop, her brother-in-law, Brian Albert. He's married to Jennifer's sister, and John knows him too, but not.
I'm not sensing any foul play so far within the timeline. I'm waiting for some moments for me to go, that don't sound right.
Well, are you with me so far? So Brian and Jennifer are at the heart of this soon-to-be conspiracy theory, locally known as the Canton cover-up. And you should know, Brian Albert is also a trained boxer. He's been featured on TNT's Boston's Finest, and he's the leader of the fugitive apprehension team. So he's a badass, is what I'm trying to say. Around midnight, Brian suggests they have a nightcap at his place, and Jennifer is in. John wants to go, but Karen's not feeling great. She reluctantly agrees to drive John over to the after party, and then she'll go back to his place and crash. But as they leave, John grabs a half-full cocktail glass off the bar. One for the road, baby. So John climbs in Karen's black 2021 Lexus SUV. It's about a 2-mile drive from the waterfall to Brian Albert's house. What happened?
I don't hear them saying that he drove.
At the house is very much in dispute. Well, Karen says that she pulled up, John got out, went to the door, and he was supposed to text or call to let her know that he was at the right place and whether or not he was going to stay at the party. So allegedly, Jennifer invited them, but since they didn't know the Alberts all that well, there was some concern if they'd be welcome. Basically, it's like your friend invites you to their friend's house and you show up, but you're like, is this going to be awkward? Am I going to be standing by myself in a corner, shunned because I'm the weirdo who forced my way into a family party? But John never calls or responds to Karen's text. So after about 10 minutes of not hearing from John, Karen drives away. She goes back to his place where she keeps trying to call and text him with no response. She falls asleep about 1:30 a.m. and she wakes up alone on John's couch at about 4:30 a.m. John is nowhere to be found. So Karen's first thought is to call Jennifer McCabe, but Jennifer hasn't seen him. So now she's really beginning to worry. By 5:30 a.m., Karen, Jennifer, and one of John's lifelong friends, Carrie Roberts, are driving around looking for John in this violent blizzard. It's still dark and borderline impossible to see through the snow. It's also freezing cold. It's only about 18 degrees outside. Now, logically, they drive back to Brian's house. And
Damn, and I hate the cold too. It had to be brick ass and then just be out there.
Karen spots a body in the front yard near the street covered in snow. She bolts from Carrie's car and she starts digging, and there, frozen stiff, is John. There's blood around his mouth and nose. There are abrasions on his arm. His eyes are purple and swollen. He's missing one of his sneakers. The 911 call comes in at 6:04 a.m. and John is pronounced dead by 7:50. Now, here's where it gets strange. No one in the house comes out to help. The Alberts stay inside until John and Karen are taken to the medical center. Now, I don't know about you, but if there's a team of first responders on my lawn, I'm probably going out there. But the defense motion says they didn't, for whatever.
Especially if they know him. They didn't want to check on him, make sure their friend was okay.
Reason they didn't. At 9:08 a.m., Karen's blood is drawn at the medical center. Her blood alcohol content is between 0.07 and 0.08. Hours earlier, at 12:45 a.m., right around the time they think John was killed, the police lab suggests that it would have been somewhere between 0.13 and 0.29. So Karen says she probably had 4 drinks that night. The prosecution says it was closer to 9. But when police questioned Jennifer and Carrie, they also had more details to share. Jennifer alleges that Karen told her she and John got into a fight that day, and she didn't remember dropping him off at Brian's house. In fact, she was so drunk the night before, she hardly remembered anything. At one point, she wondered if she could have hit him, or if John had been hit by a snowplow. But before the 3 women set out to look for him that morning, Jennifer and Carrie say Karen showed them a cracked passenger side taillight on her SUV. She couldn't remember how it happened, only that it wasn't like that before she drove to the waterfall. A paramedic also told police Karen kept saying, I hit him, when they arrived on the scene. All told, police have a working theory. Bet you can guess what it is. Karen dropped John off at Brian's house, but she drunkenly backed into him before driving home. 3 days after finding John's body, Karen is arrested for manslaughter. John's autopsy tells its own.
Yeah, EMT refusing to give aid is suspect as hell. That don't sound right. There's a lot that don't sound right about this. The people not coming outside.
Story. He had several bloody abrasions on his right arm. Both eyes were swollen and black. There was a cut above his right eye and a small cut on the left side of his nose. He also had a 2-inch gash on the back of his head. He suffered multiple skull fractures and he died after hypothermia set in.
That sound like, and this is just me from hearing, it sound like niggas gave him hands. That's what it sound like. Yeah, that don't sound like a car. That sound like punches and bunches. Nigga, that's what that sound like. And then someone curling and you continuing to hit them even after they've hit the floor, maybe even passed out. 2 black eyes. That sound like someone got punched in their nose, nigga. That's that.
Police found a broken cocktail glass near John's body, the same one he took from the waterfall that night. Now, later that day, the Massachusetts Special Emergency Response Team, CERT, they find pieces of red and clear plastic scattered around the body. They're consistent with Karen's broken taillight. They also find John's missing shoe not far from his body. When they seized Karen's car, investigators allegedly found glass embedded in the rear bumper, glass from that cocktail glass. There's also a dent and a deep scratch on her trunk, allegedly, along with scratches and chipped paint. They also find one more thing, a hair. So is it human? Like everything else in this case, that's debatable. Well, Karen pleaded not guilty, hoping her lawyer, David Yannetti, could prove that she did not do it. But then on his way home from court, David had a strange phone conversation. The anonymous caller claimed that Karen was innocent. She was being framed. They claimed John was beaten up by Brian Albert and his nephew. They only meant to rough him up, but when John wasn't responding, they left him outside in the cold. Karen.
Oh, wow. See, I said that when they described certain things about the injuries, it did sound like like they put the whips on him, like they put hands and feet.
Karen remembers John and Brian Albert's nephew having beef, according to Boston Magazine. In the spring of 2020, she says John's alarm system went off. They sprinted downstairs to find the nephew, along with a band of drunken teenagers loitering in the front yard. Words were exchanged, like they
said, how would a car give you 2 black eyes? If you were in it and got into a crash, maybe. Right? But nah. That don't sound like the injuries you would get from being hit by from a car, nigga. Like,
F out of here and go F yourself. And by morning, John's yard was covered in empty beer cans. Maybe John's autopsy photos could tell them something more. If Karen could stomach it, they might hold the key to her innocence. But when she took a look, she thought it looked like someone had beaten the crap out of him. David was also interested in the marks on John's right arm because they look like animal bites, maybe a dog. Well, it turns out the Alberts owned a canine German Shepherd, Chloe. She was inside the house the night John died. The rabbit hole.
So did they check the teeth and compare? Like, did you compare the bite marks of the teeth of the dog? Did they jump him with their dog?
Goes deeper. State Trooper Michael Proctor, the lead detective on the case, was a longtime friend of the Albert family. Facebook photos show the Albert's nephew was the ring bearer at Proctor's sister's wedding. And then there's the snowplow driver. The driver told investigators he was plowing the Albert street between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m. on January 29th, and John's body was not on the lawn. Sometime after 3:30 a.m., he allegedly saw another SUV. He thinks it was like a Ford Edge, parked near the spot where John's body was later discovered. Kind of makes you wonder if there's something to this cover-up theory after all. But when Officer Proctor interviewed the boss of the snowplows, that guy allegedly told him no plows were sent to the Albert Street. And that was the official story. Things were not looking great for Karen at this point. And then they got worse.
Her dog probably reacted to a fight. I've seen that happen. I've seen people get into a fight and the dog jump in to help the owner multiple times.
Charges were upgraded to second-degree murder. Now, it's one thing to think everybody's drunk, it's snowing, she hit him accidentally, but no. Now police believed Karen intended to kill John in a drunken fit of rage. Trooper Proctor arrested her himself in June 2022. Oh, after posting bail, Karen knew it was time to call in the big guns. If she was right, the whole city of Boston was working against her. She needed a lawyer who could handle high profile. Well, enter Alan Jackson, an LA criminal defense attorney famous for representing Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein. Now, take that as you will. Alan Jackson was all over the cover-up theory.
So she's pulling out in the black SUV, and that's the victim's SUV parked. And the defense says that she makes contact, hits the victim's SUV right there, damaging that back right passenger side tail light. And they also claim you can see, the victim's SUV move, indicating that there was a collision. And then as she pulls away, they say that you can tell there's missing parts of the tail light cover.
Right.
His team points to Ring security footage from John's house showing Karen pulling out to look for John a little after 5 a.m. on January 29th. In it, you can see that she backs up very close to John's parked car. Her defense team says she hit it and she cracked her taillight. They say you can see that crack as she drives away. Well, here's where it gets stickier. They allege that shards from that cracked taillight were scattered around John's body after the fact to frame Karen and protect the police officer homeowner. Another scalding hot piece of evidence for the pro-Karen side came from Jennifer McCabe's search history. Apparently, Jennifer Googled how long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m. the night that John died. Actually, technically, she Googled hose long to die in the cold, like HOS. And then she allegedly tried to cover that search up. The same search appeared twice more at 6:23 a.m. and 6:24 a.m. after Jennifer says Karen told her to Google hypothermia. But wait, is there any evidence to prove that John actually made it inside the Alberts house? Well, according to Karen's team, John's Apple Health app recorded a...
Damn, that's a crazy text to put. But then if they told her to search that, it's almost as if they set her up. Like they knew what would look bad, right? But then why would she try to erase it? I don't know. There's a lot.
80 steps and climbing the equivalent of 3 flights of stairs after she allegedly dropped him off. They believe it's evidence that John did go inside where some kind of violence occurred. According to those who were there, though, John never made it inside, although some people at the party say they did see Karen's SUV outside, and they assumed that John went home with her. As for the data on the health app, well, the prosecution claims that kind of data is unreliable. Studies have shown that health apps can be off by 33%. But as for Jennifer McCabe's now famous Google search, forensic experts say it's because she used a tab she had opened at 2:27 a.m., but she only Googled hose long to die in the cold after Karen told her to when they found John's body. According to the medical examiner, John's injuries were the result of blunt force trauma, not a fight. Data from Karen's car shows she reversed at a high rate of speed the night John died. So why can't they just check the home security camera? Because there wasn't one installed. That's what the Alberts told investigators. So what about the neighbors? I mean, honestly, where are these cameras when you need them? And who knows, maybe that is part of the evidence that the prosecution will offer up at trial. They've already tagged John's niece and nephew for their side. The kids say the couple fought a lot. In fact, John wanted to break up with her. According to prosecutors, voicemails and text messages recovered from John's phone indicate a toxic relationship. After she dropped John off, Karen called and texted him more than 40 times, wondering where he was and why he wasn't answering her. The defense calls that more evidence that she didn't do it. But in one voicemail,
Yeah, as I was going to say, yeah, you could be extremely worried. I've had incidents where my phone died and my charger sucks. Honestly, the phone sucks. It's a really old phone. Sometimes it doesn't charge fully, even if I have it plugged up. I got to make sure it's right. And then my loved ones was trying to contact me, and they reached out to me a bunch of times because they was extremely worried, right? So yeah,
Well, she says she hates John. Prosecutors call that motive. Well, much of Karen's case seems to hinge on the beef between the Alberts' nephew and John, except the nephew claims he left the house before the after party that night. Now, those who knew both of them claim that there was no issue between them. For more than a year, the Karen Read story didn't get much attention outside of Canton and Boston. But then Aidan Kearney, a controversial blogger who goes by Turtle Boy, picked up the story. Around 3 a.m. on April 18th, 2023, he posted his first article, Canton Cover-Up Part 1, Corrupt State Trooper Helps Boston Cop Cover Up Murder of Fellow Officer.
That's the video y'all was trying to send me. Person y'all wanted me to react to.
Frame innocent girlfriend. Well, that's a hell of a headline, and the Canton cover-up was born. Turtle Boy's article went viral. It laid out Karen's case against the Boston Police Department, Trooper Proctor, and everyone involved with allegedly framing her for murder. Soon, everyone in Canton was picking sides. You were either pro-Karen Read or pro-Boston Police. One person said it was like mentioning Donald Trump at a dinner party. You're better off keeping your mouth shut if you don't know the company you're in. Well, the theory tore apart friend groups. Pro-Karen rallies formed whenever she was due in court. Protesters wore t-shirts with Jennifer's misspelled Google search, that hose long to die in the cold. Well, Turtle Boy approached, police call it ambush.
Yo, that's crazy. Nigga. That's intense. Yikes. You're like, yeah, let's rep for the team, nigga.
Multiple people who are allegedly involved in the Canton cover-up. In October 2023, he was charged with witness intimidation. He claims the state is trying to silence him. He says they were the ones intimidating him. It's a mess. But so, did Karen drunkenly run over her boyfriend? It's possible. Did John's cop buddies beat him to death and frame his girlfriend for murder? Sure. Also possible. There are far more questions than answers in the Karen Read case. Her trial for second-degree murder should begin in spring of 2024. We'll have to wait and see what the prosecution brings to the table.
2024. Yeah, it sounds real crazy. Especially with the Proctor guy. That do sound suspect as hell. A lot about that case don't sound right. Well, tell me what your opinion is down in the comment section.